The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Hello, and welcome to The Young American. I'm your host, Joseph Bemister. We are live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café. Find us on iHeartRadio, Podbean, United Podcast Network, YouTube Live, and now on the podcast app from Apple.
It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. This podcast is fully fact-based. It's also opinionated through my libertarian views. And my guest, PJ, welcome back. Mainly about our government, like officials, laws, and how we kind of world politics right now, as we're going to go through. Today we're going to be talking about the FBI raid on Trump's lawyer and how I kind of think that's hypocritical on why they're doing it. Massachusetts kind of keeping their ban on assault weapons and what the judge ruled. Remington's going out of business, one of the oldest gun manufacturers in the United States, and the attack on Syria that happened Friday night. So I think we'll jump right into the whole Trump and his lawyer.
Yeah.
The FBI decided to raid Trump's attorney on belief that there was information that would kind of lead to an arrest in Trump for the Russia collusion, but they didn't. Nothing's come of that yet. We obviously don't know all what's going on, all of it, but they raided him, and they didn't raid Hilary when she had her whole State Department thing going on. They gave her notice. They told her, they hit her with a warrant, and they said, you have to give up all your information. Being the Secretary of State, you breached security. Like, we found emails, we have it all. You breached the national security. You broke your clearance, you broke protocol, you broke laws, and personally, I believe she should have been charged with treason, but she wasn't. And they raided Trump's lawyer's office, which was, there's information before he was president, not only when he was president, but mainly before, and they were looking for information with Russia, and I don't think that they should have done that if they didn't do it to Hillary.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. Hillary does, how many emails were there?
All right, you guys are going to have to talk a little louder because you sound checked way louder than this. I need a little more volume out of the two of you.
My apologies.
That's all right.
Let me clear my voice. The voice of God is God's getting mad at us. So, back to that. Sorry, everybody.
How many emails did Hillary have?
Over 30,000.
All right, so 30,000 emails from Hillary. She doesn't get berated like Trump's lawyer did. His house got searched through, picked through, all that.
Everything.
And,
computers, phones, everything.
Everything. And what exactly happened to Hillary again?
She smashed phones, State Department cell phones with hammers. She wasn't charged with that.
Good one.
30,000 emails. They were found. Wasn't prosecuted for a single one.
Wow.
And she's still walking free. But right now there's talk of maybe her being indicted on some different charges. But, of course, they didn't try her yet. So the evidence they still hold, it doesn't account for the double jeopardy, so that she can be tried on the information and the evidence that they have if they find it fit.
Weird. Kind of funny how that works.
It is kind of funny. And she destroyed evidence. So,
Isn't that a criminal in itself?
That is a crime, yeah.
A crime, my bad.
It happens all the time. Yeah. I'm pretty sure destroying evidence, you're interfering with especially, what's it called again? Wow, I'm drawing a blank. Investigation. She's interfering with the investigation by destroying evidence. That's a huge crime, especially for one of her caliber. I mean, she could be charged with treason. She literally put her national security at risk.
And, I mean, why would you destroy evidence if you had nothing to hide?
Exactly.
That's kind of my point of view on the whole situation.
Yeah, and James Comey came out and said this week that when he felt Trump coming out and talking about Russia, he was like, I'm very suspicious of Trump and with Russia. And then the question that was followed up was, well, what about Hillary destroying State Department phones with hammers? And he said, I don't find that out of the ordinary. They destroy evidence all the time, or they destroy equipment all the time they don't want getting in the wrong hands.
It's funny you say that. They destroy equipment all the time. How come none of us have ever really heard of people destroying government equipment all the time I'm not going to say hide evidence, but I mean, we can say sweep evidence under the rug, if you will.
Oh, yeah, especially State Department phones. When the State Department was supposed to destroy them, and she had her staff destroy the State Department phones. Didn't even hand them over. I mean, really, if you want to keep them out of the wrong hands, you hand them to the government, especially if they're already government property. That's another law she broke. She destroyed government property.
Wow, I mean, all these things Hillary's done that nothing happened, and then Trump's lawyer gets berated for something he didn't even do. Funny.
Yep. Well,
Right,
they
now-
haven't proved anything yet, and they haven't disproved anything yet. They're still looking into him, but I think by now they probably would have had the Senate impeach him, or the Congress bring it up to them, or he would be on a hearing right now, a congressional hearing, as Zuckerberg's on.
Yep.
But right now, nothing, which is
Yep.
kind of funny. We're going to move on to Massachusetts upholding the assault weapons ban. The federal judge in Massachusetts ruled that the assault weapons, I shouldn't really say assault weapons, but this is how they describe them. It's not a proper term. Assault weapons it's literally a made-up term, if you must.
Because
It's
sorry
an
to cut
action.
you off, but like an assault weapon is a weapon that you use to assault someone. So I could say this coffee cup's an assault coffee cup if I went to go beat you with it. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. And the Massachusetts judge said assault weapons or assault rifles don't play fault into the Second Amendment, that they don't apply. I don't find that.
So let's say, for lack of better definition, that an assault weapon would be classified as something with high-powered rounds, something that shoots high velocity, and has more than what Massachusetts would allow for capacity for the magazine. So I believe it's 7 rounds.
Yeah, it's actually 10.
Okay.
10 rounds. I believe it's 7 for rifles that have pistol grips, rails that you can attach optics or lights on, and collapsible stocks. Don't quote me on that, though. I believe it's 10 for all around, but I think there was something to do with the 7. I heard that.
So the argument being that the Second Amendment was written when you had 1 round.
Yep.
And you had to load a ball in, and you had packing. I mean, you're looking at for a very, very fast infantryman.
It's like a minute almost.
30 to 45 seconds for the fastest guy to be able to load or chamber a round and then fire that round and then reload again.
Yep.
So what do you think about that as far as the Second Amendment being written for that type of armament? And we certainly have the ability to fire off many more rounds. We can fire many rounds per second with just a trigger pull.
The Supreme Court already ruled that assault weapons do fall under the Second Amendment. It's going to have to go back up to the Supreme Court. It's already ruled in a case, which I don't know why the Supreme Court, or at least people who represent the Supreme Court, didn't shoot down this federal judge's ruling, because it was already ruled that assault weapons do apply to the Second Amendment, and that the Second Amendment interpretation was written so that the people can form militias to protect themselves and their community if the government can't, or if they are protecting themselves from the government. So I do believe this case is going to go up to the Supreme Court again, and it's going to be ruled as they already have. It applies no matter what. You can't shut down the Second Amendment on anything that they have already ruled it's part of. You can't just say that. Of course, that judge was a federal judge and was representing the state of Massachusetts. There are states that have assault weapons bans, such as New York. California, they don't have a full ban, but they have a high regulation where you have to either turn them in or register them. They could do something like that, but they just decided they were going to completely get rid of them.
So there's some commas that happen in the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, comma.
Yep.
Being necessary to the security of a free state, comma. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed.
Yep.
Now, you could split that into two pieces, really. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, kind of one sentence.
Yeah.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, kind of another sentence.
Yeah.
To me, the second part of that sentence is worded in such a way that we should be able to keep and bear arms virtually regardless of what they are.
Exactly,
yeah. Exactly.
If they're arms, they're arms. I mean, whether it be knives or firearms, anything. Flamethrowers. I mean, come on. Elon Musk came out with a flamethrower this year.
I don't think that the forefathers had flamethrowers in mind.
Well, they didn't have, newer firearms in mind either, but they intended for anybody to carry arms.
Then what about switchblades?
Yeah, in a lot of states they're ruled illegal.
Massachusetts?
Yes,
You can't
assisted
have
open knives, out the front knives, brass knuckles. In New Hampshire, you're allowed to have all those. I don't know about the brass knuckles. I know for a while they were banned, but now you're allowed to have out the front knives and assisted opening. Because when's the last time you've heard of a kitchen knife doing less damage than assisted open knife.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, in my opinion, a knife's a knife. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, how it opens, I don't think would matter.
No.
Is it a knife, though? I mean, you're walking around, let's say, with a 12-inch blade.
Yep.
And it's on your hip, and now you've got to unsnap it, you've got to pull it out, and you've got to point it at the person who is either attacking you or who you are attacking. A switchblade could be completely concealed, especially if it's the in-the-handle one, the stiletto, right? And
Yeah, that's stiletto is just a style of blade.
But is it the stiletto, the one that pokes out the front?
That's out the front. OTF.
OTF. All right. So it gets concealed inside the handle, and they make them so that they can penetrate human flesh by pressing the button. So now you have a completely concealed weapon that you could walk up to somebody, put against their side, kill them. No one ever sees anything. No one ever hears anything. And you walk away, and you're free and clear. So should that type of weapon be allowed in the hands of everyone?
I mean, I don't see why not. You can do the same thing. You can put a certain poison on, like a hairpin or such like a sewing needle, and you walk up to somebody and you poke them with it.
I think
and they
poison's
die.
illegal, though. I don't think you're allowed to poison people.
We get rat poison.
True.
You get different types of poison for different. I mean, you can make it at home essentially. There's poisons all around us. I mean, same thing. You can buy certain poison, pretty sure, for like use of getting rid of rodents and.
I mean, I wouldn't know. We never had any problems like that at my house.
We
but
haven't either.
I think we should segment on to a different topic here.
PJ's a little nervous that I'm
not
taking away
nervous.
his
I don't really
knife.
know much about this stuff.
taking away his little Milwaukee blade.
Oh yeah, for work.
Yeah. Remington going bankrupt. Why that's so important?
Yeah,
at least to me. It's one of the oldest gun manufacturers in America.
And I mean, it kind of sucks. Like and it's kind of weird how it all went down. Their sales went up, I believe, 27% after Sandy Hook. Or rephrase, their sales went down after Sandy Hook.
Yep.
Like 27% because of how the shooter in the school had an AR-15 manufactured by them.
Yeah.
And sorry, what were you saying?
You're good.
Oh, all right. But right, I believe it was like 6 months after that, their sales rebounded back up because there was talk of how they were going to have stricter gun regulations about, like, due to that attack. So it's kind of funny how that works. When there's stricter gun regulations, people want them.
So their sales were mainly around their hunting rifles and shotguns, the 870 and the Remington 700. And they produced a rifle called the ACR, and they put a lot of their money into that. And it was a military contract they had, which the ACR actually lost most of its military contract except for Poland with their Grom units, and they're still throwing tons and tons of money into this adaptable combat rifle kind of project, they call it. Originally it started out as the Magpul Masada, and those plans were sold to Bushmaster in Remington, and Remington decided to keep it a privatized rifle where only a certain amount of civilians can get it. The only way you can get them now is if you're law enforcement or military. And they threw a lot of their money into that, hoping that this rifle would get better and the military would pick it up in replacement for the AR-15, or really not the AR-15, the M4, M16 variant platform, because it was, changeable with calibers. You change the barrel and the boat carrier, and you just swap it out. Bushmaster took over the sales of the Remington ACR when they were also licensed to sell and manufacture that rifle. So they took over that whole kind of market for that rifle. And when it was released at SHOT Show 2015, I believe, a lot of people were like, we want to buy these from Remington because Remington's such a well-known company and Bushmaster's kind of mid-level. But Remington wasn't releasing them to the public, and I think that's what they said was their main fault. They're digging themselves in a hole.
Yeah. And, I mean, they were kind of also, I remember I was reading up on this, they were kind of also banking on Hillary winning the election, because if she did, they were expected their sales to go up because she was proposing stricter gun regulation.
Oh, yeah, and I mean...
I think everybody was thinking that was going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
And I think what's going on now is the same thing is happening with Hillary, with Trump, or would have happened with Hillary Trump. People are buying assault weapons. Like, it's raised a lot. When Trump got elected for the first year, no one was buying rifles anymore. People were, but it wasn't out of fear. It was out of, they want to collect them. Kids our age are getting them because their parents went out and got them during the whole Obama era scare.
Yep.
And they weren't buying Remington 700 hunting rifles. It was mainly the AR platform, AKs, all that fun stuff.
I think those, sorry to cut you off, I think
No,
those
no
guns gained popularity because it's kind of those, no one wants you to have them, so now you want them even more.
Exactly. It's with everything. I mean, come on. Right now, the bump stocks, you can't even get them like 6 to 7 weeks out. Even further with some manufacturers because everybody wants to ban them. And now, Remington tried to save themselves with their Palmer pistol variant, but there's so many other companies that tried to create a Palmer pistol variant, striker fire pistol, kind of copy the Glock. And I mean, you could see it with Ruger. Ruger made the American series. They failed on that. Or they didn't fail. They're still doing a good job, but they did not even half as much as they wanted to. You saw Smith & Wesson come out with another striker fire series, which hit the police market running because it was about the same price as the Glock. It was a Smith & Wesson, and the magazines were interchangeable with the different model pistols they had. Yep. And it wasn't a Glock. It was American-made, a little cheaper. But they tried to jump into that market, and it was already so saturated with striker fire polymer pistols. And they put a lot of their money into that, thinking it would save them because they expected people to go out and buy them, and not a lot of people did. And they were actually, in my opinion, not very good pistols.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
It's cheaply built, and the styling of them was just not good looking at all. It's probably a good collector's piece because Remington's going to go out.
Yep.
Well, they're not. They just filed for bankruptcy protection, which means they can restructure their massive debt. So they're not going out of business just yet. They're
Chapter 11, right?
Yeah, they're just setting it up so that they have some protection to be able to pay off their debt
like
in a different way, maybe with less interest.
1/3 of all what they owe or something like that. It's like 25 cents on the dollar. Can go down to, I believe, Chapter 11. 11, wow.
I think their debt was somewhere between 100 million and 500 million, something like that. I read up on.
They were also banking on these other companies to buy them, like Smith & Wesson. I mean, you have Sig Sauer because it's such a well-known American company. I mean, this is one of the oldest gun manufacturers in the United States. It helped with the West in forming America, and a lot of rich people who are big in the firearms so that they'd help Remington, and right now Remington's kind of holding their own. They've kind of stopped with some of their projects, but like I said again, it first started with the ACR project, and only one government bought it.
Aren't they also suffering from some lawsuits as a result of the Sandy Hook shooting?
Yeah, I believe so, but I think they've won most of them. It was all because their rifle was used in a killing. Okay, I sell a product. If, say, I go out and I sell a knife, it's not my fault, or make a knife, and I sell it to independent distributors, and somebody uses a knife that they buy from those distributors and kills somebody. It's not my fault for making the knife. It's their fault for selling to somebody who's either mentally ill, or it's the person's fault who used it because no one else told them.
It certainly is the person's fault for using it, but in this day and age, 2018, you got people that are lawsuit happy, and you don't need a preponderance of evidence to file a lawsuit. Anyone can file a lawsuit just about for any reason.
And I think that analogy, like, because people want to sue the Sandy Hook shooter, they want to they want to sue Remington for the guy that shot up Sandy Hook. That's kind of like saying let's sue General Motors for a guy that killed
a drunk driver
that killed 10 people in his truck. Like, it's the exact same thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Moving on to the attack on Syria Friday night, we were all at a fire. My mom yelled out the window when I heard.
I remember that.
Yeah, we were all just kind of hanging out at the fire. We were talking about it. Actually, we were actually having a conversation.
Yeah, we were having a conversation about it like Syria. 5 or 10 minutes before. It was kind of funny.
It was a bunch of these kids from my high school who we never thought were that political. It was just me.
It was
you, Matt.
inbred.
Inbred.
Watch the nicknames over there, bully.
It was me, you, Matt, Riley, and what's that other kid's name? Jake, right?
Jacob White. We'll just leave it there.
No last names. We don't want any lawsuits here.
We said White. That's fine. No, it's not his full last name. But we were all talking about it. My mom yells at the window, "Hey, we're bombing Syria."
Everyone was kind of in shock too.
Exactly.
I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, great." So of course, we all pull out our phones and we're looking at it, and I'm sitting here like, "Holy, crap! This is a bad thing." In my personal opinion, we shouldn't have attacked Syria at all because there was no investigation that wasn't followed out yet. Russia, Syria, and the United Nations actually said that they're going to send people down there, and they're invited people to look at these chemical attacks, have everybody who was actually there, who lived in the city, say what happened, how it happened, and before we even got to a conclusion, a coalition between France, the UK, and the United States bombed. Damascus?
It was Damascus and another small town that I couldn't remember.
I think it was 3 main stations.
There was one station that was a
2 in Damascus, 1 in a little one, I think, right?
It was the other way around. It was 2 in the little one, 1 in Damascus, and the one in Damascus I think was I don't want to say laboratory, but I think it was a lab. It was a research center. That's what it was, and it was for researching chemical warfare that they had going on. And then the other 2 buildings were storage centers for all their bombs and chemical warfare equipment, I should say, and stuff of that nature.
Yeah, so it was basically an armory.
Yeah, exactly,
bombs,
an armory.
Huge armory.
And I mean, I don't think what the president did was a good source of action, but at least there was something there. It's not like he just kind of said, "Oh wow, look what they got going on there." But we also had no proof.
Exactly, we
that
had
there
no
was something
proof, and I completely agree with what the president and the coalition happened, because this is the people say, the Middle East is so unstable. Okay, well, Syria is trying to fix their own problems right now with the help of Russia, and no matter what anybody says, the Syrian rebels, they're ISIS, Al Qaeda, and different extremist groups, along with some people who live in Syria and feel oppressed, are fighting. So people will categorize them as rebels, but most of them are Al Qaeda fighters, Taliban, who want to take control of this westernized state. It's not a good idea to get into somebody else's business when they can't even sort out their own stuff. We're not the world police. Okay?
Yeah, you got a point there.
We should not be bombing other countries with, mind you, the help of other countries.
Yeah, our allies too.
Our allies.
Making them stick their necks
out.
Yeah,
in a situation that we shouldn't be in. It's not our business. Although, hey, we're part of the UN, we're part of NATO. Russia's in there now, and they're trying to help Syria. Although, okay, we do not like the Syrians. But hey, it's not our business to go and bomb them. When they're back and they're stable, it's our own fault why the Middle East isn't stable. I mean, come on. We threw over Gaddafi, Saddam, and other people in that region, and that's what's caused instability in the region, because they don't have good governments now. Their countries are weak, they're poor, they're war-ridden, and the only way these people, can fight for what they want is literally picking up a rifle and going after the government. That's why these countries are so unstable, is because of us. If you look in the 70s and 80s, before Russia came into Afghanistan, it was a beautiful place. Russia went into Afghanistan, and that's where it all started, but then we decided to go in and take over these other governments.
Yep. And the thing that really grinds my gears about this whole bombing was what really made me angry was how these bombs we're the tax dollars are paying for them. So now the whole country's taxes are going to go up, if I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah.
Because Trump wanted to do something that didn't technically need to be done.
No, not at all. I mean, we could have brought them to a secure UN war crime hearing. We could have put on, not only could we have put the Assad on trial for war crimes, we could have put the Russians on trial for war crimes for supporting them, and we didn't. And we're not going to be able to now because we already took action. And no matter what, it's still going to be up there.
Yeah, I think that was a little hasty of a president. It seems like there could have been a more well thought out execution.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, "No, what? Screw it, bomb."
Yeah, and the way.
Well put, PJ. Well put.
Bomb. All right. And Russia's coming back now saying if anybody, the U.S. or anybody in their coalition force bombs them again, which I'm pretty sure last night there was reports of Israel attacking Damascus and other regions, which we support Israel. Personally, I do think, okay, Israel. It's kind of like us with the Native Americans. We went in and we took over the land. It wasn't a good thing, but hey, now there's a country formed.
Yep.
The UN gave Israel that land because they needed a place for the Jews to be safe. We took it from the Palestinians, no matter what they took it from the Palestinians, no matter what anybody says, and now the Jews run the area. Because of that, all the Islamic countries in that region do not like Israel. Okay, they have no friendly neighbor. If you want, we are their ally. We're one of the only allies of Israel. I mean, Iran hates them. Lebanon hates them.
Yep.
Syria hates them. The Egyptians went to war with them twice.
It's kind of like they're the bad family in the neighborhood.
They are the bad family in the neighborhood.
And their only allies are damn overseas,
us. Yeah, we have military installations there to protect Israel.
Yep.
And, I think Israel kind of goofed up. If they did, there's only reports, as none of them are confirmed, if they send missiles into Syria, because now all these other countries are going to be like, oh, well, they're shooting missiles. Okay, say, oh, it was too close to my country, now we're going to bomb Israel. And now you have the Palestinians and people in the Gaza Strip, they're going to be attacking Jews now more Islamics because you're giving them a reason to.
Yeah.
You know, if you provoke somebody, they're gonna attack or
Kind of like
do something violent.
you put a dog in the corner, dog's gonna bite you. You know.
Exactly. You don't corner a dog. And although Israel is the corner dog in this situation, he just kind of bit at somebody that wasn't even trying to attack him.
Yeah, exactly.
At the moment, it's like, come on, you are fine. You have protection by the U.S. and all of a sudden now you just kind of shot missiles up. If this is true.
Yeah, it seems like now they kind of dug themselves in a even deeper hole than they were already in. You know.
Yeah. It's not a bad situation right now in the Middle East. The whole region is unstable. I mean, Afghanistan is still littered with the Taliban. Iran's just being Iran, and
yeah,
and we're bombing Syria. All right, guys, as always, thank you for listening. We are live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café. Please like, subscribe, and share this post. We appreciate it if you do. Next week, we'll be talking about the California governor refusing to send a National Guard because he feels that it's too much illegal immigration. How the March on Our Lives turns out on 4/20 and why that's kind of a convenient date for them. It is kind of why you think it is, and why the pro-gun people are not protesting as much as the anti-guns people who are out there. Anyone out there listening who's interested in advertising or sponsoring the show, please contact us. My email should be in the description of the YouTube. And I think, can we put that in the podcast app too?
Oh yeah, it goes right in there.
So, any form.
jrbemister26@gmail.com.
Right. And the spelling will be up there. Thank you guys. See you next week. PJ?
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.